With the release of 3 Israeli hostages by Hamas, Israel has freed 90 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. The majority are women, as well as a number of children. Nicole Johnston is a former Middle East correspondent who's now based in Beijing and joins us now. Nicole, very good to see you. So how much do we know about the prisoners and detainees who have been released?
Well, Ros, as you said, it's pretty much low-hanging fruit for the Israelis. They're releasing women and children out of these jails inside the West Bank. So they've kind of gone for the lowest common denominator. It's not difficult to get an agreement when it comes to the release of women and children. There are many women and children held inside Israeli prisons. One of the most significant who is being released as part of this deal is Khalida Jarrar. Now, she is a leader of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. This is a group defined as a terrorist organisation by the European Union and the United States. She is seen very differently inside the Palestinian territories, though. She's regarded as a leader, not of the militant wing, but of the political wing. So she's one of the big figures that is being released. Also, another couple of figures includes Zachariah Zubeidi. Now, he is a former leader of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. This is the military wing of Fatah. So this is a significant figure to be getting out of Israeli prisons, one that would have taken quite a bit of negotiation. But as you said, overwhelmingly, it's women and children who are coming out.
OK, so who decides which prisoners will be released, Nicole?
Well, this is all part of the negotiation, and this is why it's been so difficult, among other reasons, to get any agreement. It's a huge list of people that they have to decide upon. It could be up to 1,600 Palestinian names. Obviously, from the perspective of Hamas, they need to get as many big fish out of these Israeli prisons as they can. They need to try and show something for having instigated this sort of ruinous war that's led to the utter destruction of Gaza. So it is a difficult negotiation that goes on. Obviously, the Qataris, the Egyptians, they're part of that with this long back and forwards with names. It's one of the reasons why it has taken so long. But at the end of the day, it is down to Hamas and the Israelis with negotiators in the middle. The Red Cross is part of that as well. They orchestrate the whole deal to come up with the names that both sides can agree upon. And that's why it's so hard.
Some Palestinians are held under administrative detention by Israel. Nicole, what's that?
It's quite complicated. And this is the thing about Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. It's not that well known about. I mean, there were about 5,000 at the time of October 7. It has increased to around 10,000. Many of these Palestinians, as you said, are held under this process called administrative detention. They're held without charge. They are held without a due legal process. They aren't given proper legal representation, and they're held for 6-month periods that's extended and extended and extended again. So this is the process that the Israelis tend to use to hold thousands of Palestinians in these jails. And the issue of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails is one that's really at the core of Palestinian national identity, because almost every Palestinian family that you meet will have had a relative who has spent time in Israeli jails. I think the figures are around 50% of all Palestinian men have been imprisoned by Israel at some stage. So it's a massive issue for Palestinians, and that's why over the next sort of days and weeks to come, we will see incredible scenes of jubilation on the streets inside the West Bank as these Palestinian prisoners are released back to their families. Not all of them, though, will go back to their families in the West Bank or the Gaza Strip. Some of the more high-profile ones will be exiled. Now, they'll be sent to Qatar, to Turkey, and to Algeria. So you can see what a highly fraught, highly charged process this whole prisoner exchange is for both sides.
Nicole, I understand you've been in touch with people in Gaza. What have they told you about the ceasefire and what conditions are like there?
Yes, I've heard from people who live inside Gaza. They've been living in tents for over a year in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. They're from Gaza City. They're from the north. They were getting organised and ready to move back to try and see their homes. They know that they've been destroyed. Some of them have seen photos of it previously, and they are utterly distraught. They're exhausted. They say that there is no real life in the Gaza Strip now. They don't expect that there will be for years to come, decades to come. Obviously, they're relieved that the war may be over, but they're also very cautious. They know that this deal could collapse at any stage. They've seen it happen before. They have no faith in the international process, no faith in the international community, or the leverage of the United States over the Netanyahu government, even though it does appear that that is changing now. They're concerned that war could break out again if the deal collapses, or even once this deal is over. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that war could return if it's deemed necessary from the Israeli perspective. So it's hard to put into words how Palestinians are doing right now. Yes, they're relieved to get back, but I mean, what they have endured in the hell on earth that has been Gaza over the past 12 months, I think is impossible for any of us to really fathom, even though day in, day out, for weeks on end, we've been watching it live streamed on our televisions. And even in the lead up to this ceasefire deal, some 190 Palestinians have been killed, according to those Palestinian health officials. Because what happens just before a ceasefire is both sides go hell for leather for it. And it's often the most dangerous phase because they're essentially emptying their weapons. And it's been an incredibly hard bombardment on the Gaza Strip just in the last few days.
Nicole, thank you.